working okay? Yeah. Okay. This idea, this presentation kind of grew out of the idea of wanting to share ideas with people. It's nothing formal, but it's just kind of like 3 different sets of parents' experiences of what we've done with our kids, because we all have different paths. And so we thought, well, for this first time, we'll just kind of start with sharing our experiences, and if anything resonates with anyone, you know, ask us what we did, share with you. But we'll just introduce ourselves and tell a little bit about our child with ACC and what we've done and where they're at. And then we'll start at this end and with us, and then our son wasn't able to be here. This is his first time not being able to be here, so he wanted to participate a little bit, and so he did a little short video clip that he put on YouTube, and it's like 4 minutes, so we'll do that at the end if there's time. So.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Al Cordasco. This is my wife, Amy. We live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, so it's a little rough being in Cowboys country for us, but we're getting through it. Our son is here, Sean. He's 31 years old. We did not ask him to come to this. I'm sure he would have been more than willing, but we thought that you know, it might be better if we could just talk more freely. So we have 4 kids. They're all adopted. Sean is the youngest, and he's living at home with us. Sean, you know, school was the typical struggle. When the day he graduated from high school, I was just one of the greatest days, because I just thought, thank God we're done with all of that. He sort of, in my mind, fell through the cracks, because, you know, he's a kid who was not, thank God, you know, really as seriously impaired as others in the special ed programs in the schools. And yet he did definitely have real learning issues, and you know, in my mind, they just really didn't know what to make of Sean and what to do with him. But we got through it, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that struggle. So he went to a vocational high school. He does have you know, mechanical ability. He can figure things out a heck of a lot better than I can. And so we thought the vocational school might really help lead to you know, something in the workforce. It didn't go as well as we had hoped, but I think it was definitely better than you know, a regular academic program. So after high school, Sean, you know, college was just never going to be an option for him. So we started looking to place him in the workforce. He did get his driver's license. He waited about a year after he was, you know, hit the legal age before he was really ready to do it. But he got his license, and we had some adventures with that in the first 2 or 3 years. But that's calmed down, and you know, he's doing very well as far as that's concerned right now. So trying to get him into the workforce, we worked with our county division of vocational rehabilitation, and they got him a job coach, and he had, you know, in the meantime, I think while he was still in high school, he got a little part-time job at a local store, which you know, we were really happy to see that. And he worked there for quite a while, but eventually they let him go, because after maybe 2 or 3 years, you know, he wasn't really following instructions. He would be talking to the customers, which was not supposed to be part of his job responsibilities. And eventually, like I said, they let him go. And I just remember that was such a punch in the gut, you know, when that happened, because I thought, you know, I was so proud of the fact that he'd been working, you know, and you know, what's going to happen now. But anyway, we got him into the DVR program with the county. He got a job with a job coach at Home Depot. That didn't work out real well. He got fired for making inappropriate remarks to a female coworker. So that's another one of the issues that comes up. We all know that our kids have trouble with social issues and how to behave appropriately and how to speak appropriately to people at times. So went back into the DVR program. Eventually, they placed him with Goodwill Industries. And he has been with Goodwill for, I don't know now, probably about 12 years or so. Started out in a facility with people of a great variety of disabilities, doing really kind of piecework, filling orders that they would then ship out to different companies. Eventually, they moved him over to a warehouse where he was working with, dealing with the donations that people made, sorting them out, and getting them ready to go into the retail store. After a couple years of that, Goodwill opened up a facility right across the street from where he had been working that sells medical equipment. And, hospital beds, wheelchairs, walkers, you name it, and they have it. So they trained Sean first on how to, break down the equipment, sanitize it, put it back together, and then he started going out, making deliveries and pickups of the equipment, worked all through the pandemic because they were considered to be essential workers. Which was great. It also worried us a little bit because he was going into, senior facilities and other places where there were, people who were undoubtedly sick, but thank God got through it without any problems. And so now he has begun driving for Goodwill. So he drives a truck all over the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, up and down the Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway. Sometimes he drives a couple hours away, and making these deliveries and pickups. So he became a full-time employee a couple of years ago. Has his benefits, his medical insurance, little pension going. So we're very grateful that he's doing as well as he is as far as that's concerned. Along the way, he's saved a lot of money. He bought his own car, had the co-sign for him, but he made all the payments, pays his car insurance, pays his share of the phone bill, whatever medical expenses he has. Deductibles and for his medication that he's on, et cetera. He takes care of all of that. If it's somebody's birthday, he buys the gifts, and with a little bit of prompting, or sometimes a lot of prompting on our part. So, that part all seems to be, going pretty well. It's definitely going pretty well. There are still, however, challenges, of course. For a long time, I was getting Sean up in the morning to go to work. And recently we said to him, Sean, you're 31 years old. Like, this has got to stop. You got to start being responsible for waking yourself up. So he's done that. And now he, is consistently able to do that. Amy, for a long time, was getting his lunch ready for him in the morning. And finally we said, Sean, you're 31 years old. This has got to stop. You got to be able to do this on your own. And so that's what he's been doing now for the last few weeks. He makes enough that he can put in, like I said, he's saved a lot of money. I don't really think that you know, he makes enough to be able to live on his own, however. And I think that at some point he might be capable of having a job where he could make more money and he might be able to live independently. But I don't think he's in that situation right now. And right now, although he has talked over the years from time to time about, you know, getting a place with his brother or with this friend or that friend, I don't think he was ever really serious about it. And now he expresses no interest whatsoever. And that's because Sean, I think, has it made in the shade, frankly. When, you know, after Amy's dad died, her mom moved in with us, and she converted a part of the house into a little suite for herself. And after she passed away, Sean eventually moved in there, so he's got his own bathroom, his own TV, you know, his own suite. And it's right on the same floor as the kitchen. And so, you know, he's really in pretty good shape. And, you know, just recently, like I said, he has this money that he saved. It's been his dream for several years to buy a new truck. And, of course, we've kind of like talked him out of that with a great deal of difficulty over the past few years. The biggest battles we've had with Sean have been over this whole truck business. And so, you know, he's back again and that he wants to buy this truck, which of course now is like the worst time to be doing that, right? Like it's the worst time to be buying a vehicle. It's the worst time to be buying a gas guzzling vehicle. We said, Sean, you know, why don't you take this money that you're going to put down on this truck and you could put it down on a little place, you know, for yourself. Nope, no thanks, just not interested whatsoever. So, you know, we talked about it, and we said, all right, well, you know, he's not going to college. You know, he's not interested in buying his own place right now. He's, you know, probably never going to get married. This is his dream, you know, and so he's going to do it, and we're going to, you know, help him do it, not financially. I'll co-sign for him again if that's what we need to do, but he'll get his truck, and that's the thing that he's really had his heart set on for the last 4 years. So I hope we're doing the right thing. I think we are, but we'll find out. You know, if he were to live on his own, there are some things that we're concerned about. You know, he's made a lot of progress over the years in his reading and his vocabulary, you know, years and years of speech therapy and occupational therapy. But when it comes to math, he just can't do it. He just can't do it unless he's got a calculator, and even then he's not sure what functions to use on the calculator a lot of times to accomplish certain tasks. So, you know, between that and the fact that he really doesn't have any concept of money or the meaning of money, we're just concerned, you know, that if he were to live on his own, he really just wouldn't be able to manage it. I should say that along the way, you know, we faced the decision of whether to seek a guardianship for him or not. And in the end, we decided not to do it because we didn't want to compromise his independence that way. And we were confident that he wouldn't do anything crazy without talking to us first. And so far, that has proven to be the case. It also helps that I'm on his bank account with him and on his credit card account with him, so I can see what he's doing. So, you know, that was something I won't say we agonized over, but we certainly gave it a lot of thought and decided not to. We were, you know, a little bit concerned, frankly, that if we got guardianship for him, but he's out driving around and something happened, you know, that could raise a lot of questions. So again, don't know if that was right or wrong, but so far it seems to have worked out. One other thing I'll mention in terms of his ability to, you know, or not to live on his own, about a year or so ago, he was putting on some weight, and you know, we were trying to get him to lose weight, and we'd been talking to him about it for a while, and nothing really worked. Went to the doctors for his checkup. They got some lab work done. The numbers were really bad. Real high cholesterol. And, we finally said to him, Sean, you got to do something about this. And so went to a cardiologist. The cardiologist said, I'll give you 6 months to, start cleaning this up. Otherwise, I'm going to put you on medication. And that really, I think, made an impression on him. He said, I don't want to do that. Amy did an awful lot of work with a diet for Sean. In fact, we all went on a diet, following a plan very closely. And he did lose a bunch of weight. And when he went back for new blood work, the numbers were much better. Went back to the cardiologist. She said, okay, things are looking good. Keep it up. So, that's the kind of thing that if he were on his own, we're just really, I know he just would not be able to manage it on his own. And so that's another reason why I think it's better that he's with us. And we kind of expect that he always will be with us or with somebody in the family. We've talked to, we have a special needs trust for Sean. Our oldest son is the trustee. We've talked to him about that. He's given us his word that he'll take care of Sean. And I'm sure he will. But there's other things that go along with that. Sean, his emotional needs are something that I continue to worry about. And I'll mention, we went to a session yesterday on family relationships. And the person conducting the session said you shouldn't put the responsibility for taking care of your special needs child on one of your children. Oops, we've already done that. So again, I don't know if that's right or not, but Sean there's emotional needs too. Like in any given day, he'll come up to us 5 or 10 times during the day, not just when he's leaving for work or coming home, and just give us a hug and say, I love you. And sometimes, you'll be cooking something at the stove, and he'll come up and put his arms around you while you got the frying pan going. And it's like, sometimes I find myself wanting to say, Sean, we just did this like 10 minutes ago, enough is enough. But I don't say that because I don't want to inhibit him from, expressing that emotion. But I do worry about where's he going to get that, after we're gone. I mean, we've all got that issue to deal with, right? What happens after we're gone? We want him to be someplace where he's wanted, not just someplace where he's tolerated. So it remains to be seen how that's all going to shake out. There are ongoing problems. Sean, sees a psychologist because of some issues that surfaced a couple of years ago. I think it's really helped him. He continues to see this person. He likes going. Psychologist has indicated to us that he thinks it's really been helpful for Sean to manage his anger, which I didn't even really know he had anger issues, but apparently he did. So it's just something where we always have to, well, you know how it is. You just keep your eyes and ears open, and if you see something, you try to nip it in the bud. We're very direct with Sean if we think there's a problem or something that he needs to work on, and we try to talk things out with him, and he's generally pretty receptive to that. So all in all, thank God things are going pretty well, and we'll just keep on being vigilant and doing what we can. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So the other thing about Sean living at home, I mean, he clearly seems to really like being at home, and he has his own space. But he also, we've been in the same home now for 22 years, so he knows the neighborhood. We're very active in our church. He's very active in our church. He's also active in the Knights of Columbus. And so all of these groups, including our immediate neighborhood and the church and the Knights, are all very, very supportive of Sean. And so even though he's living at home with his parents, he's hardly ever home. He's hardly ever home. And he has one or two friends that he sees regularly too. So I think that's also really important, you know, that he's out and about all the time. And I think we're, you know, even if, because I went on a campaign, like we need to downsize, you know, the whole 9 yards. But Sean is so settled here. He's happy. He has support groups in all different areas. And so right now that just seems to be the best situation for him where we are. Oh.
Just one other final thing, really final, I promise. You know, Amy and I have gone away on vacations a couple times, and probably the longest one was right before the COVID shutdown. We had the opportunity to go to the Holy Land. So we were gone for about 17 days, and Sean stayed by himself. You know, he had his brothers checking in on him, my sisters checking in on him. But the point being that he's capable of, you know, living on his own, staying by himself for short periods of time. But I don't think he likes it. He doesn't like it when we're not there, you know, for any extended period of time. Again, whether that's just an emotional thing or he just, you know, he likes the company. I'm sure it's all of that. So apart from anything else, I'm not sure how much he would ever really like living by himself. So, the end. Thank you.
The end.
Well, good morning. Well, good morning. My name is Kevin Hight. This is my wife, Paige. We have 2 children. We have Max, who's 28. He has complete ACC. He's here this weekend. We have a daughter, 26, that is in the siblings program. She loves it. She's been coming to several conferences and has made lifelong friends through that. Also with us, we travel with our village. So my wife's parents are here, my mother's here, my 2 sisters are here, my nephew's here. So when you say it takes a community, it takes a community. So raising Max, absolutely. You know, raising Max has had its difficulties. Paige and I, you know, when we started talking about this panel, and I know the Cordascos, I know the Barges. It's a very diverse group of parents and how, and I guess their areas and how their children have been raised. I mean, we're from Columbia, Tennessee. We're a small community south of Nashville. Max, you know, school was not great for us. We pulled him in the 5th grade. We pulled him into a tutorial service that we thought was going to be the greatest thing and going to focus on Max. Well, that fell apart. So my wife and her braveness and a couple other mothers pulled the 6 students into our basement and created a tutorial service, and they did that for several years. And that was great, but it just wasn't working completely. So when Max got into high school, our daughter was at a Christian school down the street, and so it was a blessing that my wife was able to homeschool Max for his remaining years. And the Christian school down the street, you know, if we needed textbooks or whatever, we were just able to get those through that school and do that. Zion Christian Academy has been a life-saving community for us. We're in Columbia, Tennessee. There's the Zion community that we're a part of. Zion Christian Academy is associated with a church, and Max started there when our daughter was in the 5th grade, helping. He loves sports, so We were able to get him involved in sports there. 15 years now that Max has been a part of Zion Christian Academy. Yeah, we've given a lot of support there. I was in charge of the Booster Club for several years, but Max loves Zion sports. Football, basketball, baseball, he's a part of it all. He's a fixture of Zion. He has a key to the school. He can come and go as he wants to. So living for Max, he lives with us. We converted our basement into an apartment for Max. So that's his space. When the oven dings, he comes upstairs. Other than that, we basically don't see him because he's basically in the afternoons. He's basically with his sports teams or his church group. He loves to be associated with our local church, and they have services that he's able to go to just with young adults. So we're able to do that. Driving is not an option for Max. He can drive a golf cart. It scares the bejeebies out of him, but you know, he's just, when he's around his group of friends and around the kids at the school, they love him, they support him, they surround him with love and respect him. This year, my wife's nephew had gotten involved in going around the school and watching some softball because, you know, he's a young man, 17, and there's girls on the softball team, right? So he was up there, and some guys saw Oliver talking to Max, and they're like, "Hey, how do you know Max?" And he said, "Oh, he's my cousin." And they're like, "Wow, cool." So, you know, Max is well loved. He's, you know, it's talk about the community. Everybody knows him around our area. So we don't know what the next stages are for Max. We do know that we have a daughter that is amazing. Even before, she's been married for 5 years now to an amazing young man. Prior to them getting married, she had that talk with him and said, "Hey, not only do you get me, but you get Max." Because, you know, we've had these talks with Grayson, and we said, "Grayson, you don't have to be responsible for Max." But she says, "No, I will be responsible for Max." So Shad has taken on that responsibility as well. We do a lot of things as family and have great groups of friends that we can do things with. So it's difficult as a parent to know what's the best thing to do for your child, but we've just taken the stance that Max is just, you know, the hugs, they continue to come. He doesn't, he's not up and down. He's straight down the road, middle of the road. He doesn't have emotional outbreaks or anything like that. He's very comfortable in his living. He doesn't want for anything. He doesn't, you know, he wants his sports. Now, if you talk about disciplining your child, Paige always used to say, "You're going to lose a ball game if, you know, this doesn't get, you know, I ask you to do this," and you know, that will straighten him up pretty quick because he doesn't, he feels like that's his job. And we're very blessed as a family. You know, Max doesn't have to work to earn money because we've been very blessed as a family to be able to take care of those things. So as life goes on, we pray that God will continue to bless us and lead us in the right direction with what we need to do for Max. But my wife does an amazing job with him. She's always been able to work in the home and take care of our children, and that's been a blessing to us. But it's been a struggle through the years. But again, I totally, if you've got a village, keep that village close and keep them happy because they are your support group. And you know, we live probably from here to the registration desk from my in-laws. So, you know, Max was able to be, and my wife's grandparents lived on our compound for a while, and you know, Max was able to visit with everybody, and it is a true blessing. So, anything you want to share, love? Okay, thank you. That's all I need. Is I did great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Barge and my husband, Bruce. And we have a son who's 26, Nathan, who is complete ACC. And none of us are experts in adult living options. We are just experts on our own kid, just like you're experts on your own kid. You know what's best, and sometimes we're guessing, and sometimes it's just trial by error. But you try and do what works, and if it doesn't work, then you try something else. I just wanted to get a quick poll of the audience to see who has kids that are below 18. About half, okay, and then above 18, and okay, yep, about half, great. So for Nathan, we've known since birth that he's had complete ACC, and he went through early intervention, public school, had great special ed services, IEP, very actively involved in that. One of the things that we thought was really important was at the end of high school was to keep his IEP open. Do not let them, the high school, give him his diploma at age 18. Because if you do, then the school is done providing services. If you keep it open, they are required to provide 18 to 21-year-old transition services. So through that, we were able to get, and Nathan had a desire to go to college. We didn't know what that was going to look like, but he did get a regular diploma eventually, and so he got the Carnegie credits and was able to take some classes at a local community college. That was great because it gave him a try to see, can I handle college classes? And it was just on a part-time basis. The downside of the community college was that there's no dorm or living options on campus, so living at home. But then that provided him an opportunity to learn the bus routes to go to and from the college. So he would take maybe 3 classes a semester and live at home. And then during those years, we would try to provide some of those independent living skills that he is eventually going to need, like learning to do his own laundry, learning to do a little bit of cooking. So it's a lot of that pre-teaching things that you do at home. So it's just making sure that they're doing some of their own things and not totally relying on mom and dad, like, oh, well, I'm doing laundry. So we had to try to get dad to stop doing laundry, make Nathan do it. He did 4 years at community college, most of which were provided by the school district because he was in a program for students with intellectual disabilities called Campus Connect, which was a program through our public school system at Madison Area Technical College in Wisconsin. So he did 4 years of that and then applied for another program which has been a perfect fit for him. It's called Cutting Edge Program. It's an inclusive education program for students with intellectual disabilities at Edgewood College in Madison, a 4-year college. And so because he had taken the classes at MATC at the community college, was able to transfer in as both a regular student, so he had 33 credits coming in, and as a student in the intellectual disabilities program. And he is able to be a degree seeker. A lot of kids in the program are not, they come out with a certificate, but they learn so many skills in this program. So he lived his first year there, so he was 21, 22 when he started college at Edgewood. So he lived in a dorm the first year with 2 other guys, and so it was an experience of sharing space with somebody else outside of his family. Learning to, like, when do you use the bathroom? How do you share space and TV time? And so there were some interesting times. But he would work it out with them or with the staff, having them intervene, saying, hey, you know, we're having this roommate conflict, we gotta work it out. So he was in a dorm the first year, and then the last 3 years he's been in an on-campus apartment with one other individual, one of his same roommates. And so they had a bedroom with 2 twin beds that they bunked, and then they had a little kitchen and a little bathroom and a little living area. So they're right on campus, and then they get supports from the college program. They make up charts, like whose turn is it to clean. They come in and kind of check on that. They get course coaches for the college classes. He had a part-time job on campus with this program called Go Eddie Go, which he doesn't have a driver's license and really doesn't have a desire to, because there's just too much to pay attention to, but he learned to drive a golf cart, and Go Eddie Go takes them around. So he picks up somebody and then takes them, you know, on the campus to their class or to their dorm. So he's been able to maneuver that okay. He probably could get a driver's license at some point, but he'd have to have the desire to do that. He was tested, he had a vocational test to be able to see whether he could, and they thought that he probably could be taught to drive, but again, he's learned public transportation and he hasn't really had the desire to do that. So he will, this is the first conference he's missed. We've been coming since he was 6, so this is 20 years. And he is this summer, and the college that he's at is like 20 minutes away from us. So I always felt comfortable, like if there's anything he needed, I could run down there. But he's doing an internship this summer north of Milwaukee, which is about 2 hours away. So this has been kind of an experience, having him 2 hours away from us in a dorm on a different campus while he's doing this internship. And so there's been a couple times of homesickness, and so he'd call and we'd process things, or you know, Bruce would drive there and spend a day with him, take him grocery shopping, just spending some time just to kind of reassure him, because he has anxiety and just, can I do this? And then I spent some time with him. He was having some low muscle tone issues and dehydration, and kind of freaking out a little bit, knowing that we were going to be halfway across the country in Texas. And so I said, well, you know, if you need to come with us, we have an extra bed, we can do this. And he really fought hard to make sure that he could. He's like, no, I want to be able to do this. I don't want to take time off of my internship. I want to do this. And the internship's in sports media for a baseball team. So.
And if you know anything about Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan is, baseball. He had a love for baseball that was inspired by his 3rd grade special ed teacher, and that was the year that the Boston Red Sox won the World Series after, 82 years?
86.
86, the curse, broke the curse. He's loved baseball ever since then. Like the Hight said, you relate whatever is going on in life to the sport or the passion that they have. So when we were learning about the parental discipline things for kids, and went through Thomas Phelan's 1, 2, 3 magic, for him it was strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. Or you can't play the game, or you can't do things if you're sitting on the bench. So you just relate to whatever it is in life, to whatever passion that they have. So find that passion, follow it, and you don't know where it's going to take them. So we didn't know at age, in 3rd grade, that he's going to get a college degree and pursue something in his love of baseball. In terms, so next year he has 1 more year, and he'll graduate next May with a degree in communications with an emphasis in digital marketing. Digital media marketing. And so he's been in this on-campus apartment for the last 3 years. In August, he's going to move in an off-campus apartment, so it'll be like 3 blocks down. So baby steps, even when they're older, you do things slowly and just baby steps so that they have this level of comfort. And so he's like, well, I know how to live on my own because of living on campus. Now I'll be off campus and I have to get myself to the campus for classes. I'm not just roll out of bed and I'm right there. So this time he'll be in an off-campus apartment on his own, you know, continuing to learn how to cook and do laundry. And then he'll graduate next year, and then yeah, and then we'll see what type of a job he'll be able to get. He has talked a couple times about moving away from Madison, or, you know, we'll see. I'd love to have him stay at least the first year to get some of those alumni supports, just to make sure that he can make it, and because I don't want to have to, you know, get on a plane and fly a couple states away to if something happens. But just taking things slow. Also in the summers when school had ended and kids would move home, we had him stay on campus, because we found that even during breaks, like during Christmas break, when he'd come home, he'd kind of regress. You know, he's like having us do laundry or just doing things that's like, no, you got to get on this roll. And then he started realizing it too. So he started staying there in the summer and wanting to be independent and not relying on other people to do things for him. So that's been helpful. In terms of guardianship, we did not pursue guardianship for him. I didn't want to have those rights taken away. I knew that he could do things as long as he would always ask us for our opinion and support. So I do have information, packets if people are interested. I picked some up from the Board of Developmental Disabilities about supported decision making. So it's an option to guardianship for those with kids under 18. It's not a legal document, but it is signed into law in 15 states. And so you can take a look at that. And it's basically on the premise that, you know, all of us, when we buy our first house, do we know how to do that? And do we know all the ins and outs of that? No. What do? We ask other people for help and like reading the contract or getting a loan or things like that. So that's what our kids need is, you know, our support in making those kind of decisions. So anything else that you can think of?
Sibling and Social Security. So, I'm Bruce, and I'm going to stand because I get stiff from sitting too long. If anybody else needs to stretch, stand up, or something like that, feel free. It doesn't offend me. There we go. And has a sibling, Lindsay. Many of you may have met her or seen her. She's a non-ACC sibling. She's great friends with Grayson and lots of other kids that she's met over the years, and they pal around and they form relationships that last a lifetime. I'm also going to mention Social Security, that there's a window after age 18 if you plan on filing for Social Security that closes at age 25, 26, something like that. And there's a separate seminar on Social Security benefits, and we would encourage you to take that if you're contemplating to do that, because it's a very involved process. We hired a consultant, someone who was a retired Social Security person from our church, and you go through the process, and it's not unexpected that you get turned down once or twice, and you keep going through, and it's almost a test of endurance to see if you can successfully file and obtain benefits for your child. And eventually we were, and it certainly took the help of. The other thing, Nathan's baseball, you know, we relate everything to sports because that's how he learned, and he found that sports was a business, and he didn't want to take math until until he started deciphering baseball statistics. And we said, well, RBIs, runs batted in, is a statistic. And he says, really? And he says, is that what they do with that stuff? And we said, yeah. And we thought, oh, you know, and then we go to a local church. We've been members for years, and he was, like many college kids, he's sort of so-so on church, and so, oh, they're talking about that stuff, you know, and they think, you know, it's worthwhile for you to listen. You might benefit somewhat. Then he discovered, since he likes hanging out with the athletics team, he discovered the local Athletes in Action chapter. And the kids are like him. They like athletics, and then they translate it into that, and he's been a regular attendee. And God forbid that I or his mother should suggest that to him, because then that would put the kibosh on his enthusiasm for that. But he's gone there, he just enjoyed it, he's made friends with a lot of kids. And I even adapted one of the lessons, and I said, you know, and he's always telling me when the draft comes up for the various sports, and especially baseball, who's going to get drafted and why? And you think, hey, how did God draft the apostles? And why did these people make it in the first round? And he's just going at me like, you're playing with me, aren't you? And I said, no, I'm just introducing a thought. So these kind of were useful for our child in his context. Certainly, maybe some of those lessons might apply to you and to yours. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening.
I have a real short video clip that Nathan did. If he was here, he wouldn't be in this session, but since he likes doing media and stuff, he did a short little YouTube thing, so I thought we'll try and show it real quick.
Hey everyone, my name is Barge. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm 26 years old and I have complete ACC. Currently, I'm at my second college where I went to Madison Area Technical College first, and now I'm at Edgewood College, which is also in Madison. And I intend to graduate with a degree in communications with an emphasis in digital marketing in the spring of 2023. I had special ed in elementary, middle, and high school, K through 12. Once I was approaching high school graduation and college, I always thought that I would be going to UW-Madison or college would be a bust, because lots of my friends were going to UW-Madison. I didn't fully understand till later that that wouldn't be an option, unfortunately, because of the lack of disability supports. And I ended up starting at my local community college for 4 years. During that time, I learned how to navigate college These services have helped me build as I intend to work in the sports management field after graduating. I have had many jobs working with the Madison Valley Baseball Club, team managing for both of my school's baseball teams, interning with the Special Olympics Wisconsin, and serving as a sports information student assistant at Edgewood College. So unfortunately, I'm not able to make it to Texas this year for the conference. And this is the first time in about 20 years since my family has been going that I have been able to attend. And that would actually be because I am here in Macon, Wisconsin, 20 minutes north of Milwaukee, working for a local summer collegiate team called the Lakeshore Chinooks. And I'm a social media intern for them. So I've been enjoying the summer so far and looking forward to what I can learn. And I've been advocating about ACC since I got here.
That's somebody else's video. But yeah, he put it on YouTube, so people can access it. I don't know how to. But he wrote it himself. Yeah, he wrote this whole script and everything himself. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exit out here. We taking questions now? Yeah.
We're at the point of the program where we're happy to entertain questions or for anything you might.
Oh.
Sorry. Okay, one of the main concerns I have about independent living, I mean, I can teach them to wash clothes, I can teach them to wash dishes, I can teach them to do that kind of stuff. Cooking. Cooking is the biggest issue I have of actually allowing him to go into the kitchen without me watching him and knowing that afterwards everything's going to be safe and secure. And so, I mean, what are your opinions on that? I mean, how will you handle that? If living on campus, are they eating on campus or are they actually cooking their own food in their own dorm? I mean, how do you address that?
Well, with Nathan's particular program, they have peer mentors that are assigned to work with them on cooking and doing various independent living skills. When he's at home, one of us would help. There's also, I would also recommend connecting with your local either regional center or what, I don't know if it's just in Wisconsin that they call ADRC, Aging and Disability Resource Center, to see if they qualify for long-term supports, because some of those programs can provide job coaches or vocational programming where somebody can be assigned and help them do some of those independent living skills. So there's various programs in communities that have those kind of supports. Does anybody else have?
He only does the microwave. I mean, and I know that, yeah. And so I've thought about that too. And it's just.
And Nathan, he won't use gas. Like we have gas at home and it freaks him out. So he asks us to turn the gas burner on. So we made sure that the apartment he's in is going to be electric burner because that's what he's used to and that's what he feels safe with.
So Sean, we have gas also, and when we go away, Sean manages to set up dinner engagements with family and friends and people from, hey, my mom and dad are going to be away. Oh, Sean, and everybody, but we also tell him, like, Sean, you can't do that. Like, you need to cook for yourself, you know, and so he does use the gas. He's very conscious of like going through a checklist in his head about shutting this off, shutting that off, you know, like you'll hear him talking to himself in his room about shutting down things. And so I think for him, that's, you know, when he's in the kitchen, he'll do that. Like, he won't always clean out the sink, and he might leave the dishes there till right before we get home, but whatever. So I think they can be taught, obviously, and it is a concern. But it's, when I left the house yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I double check that I shut off all the you know, because I meant to do that. So I don't know. Besides training them and giving it a try.
Yeah, he just said it's going to be a lifelong thing, which is right.
So I was just going to address that a little bit. My daughter's been out in an apartment. She has complete ACC. And just like everything, it just is baby steps. Baby steps. You know, her first apartment was like about a mile from me. And it was a disaster. It was a year. And she ended up quitting her job and having to move back home. But wow, what an experience that failure was. You know, she had a grocery store next door, so she would go and buy prepared foods over there and microwave them. We learned that her apartment was a really old one. It didn't have a dishwasher. That's a disaster. She had to have an apartment that had a dishwasher, or otherwise they just couldn't get clean. She didn't know how to properly wash a dish that would get the grease off. Let's see, what else was I going to say about the apartment stuff? Roasting. Roasting seemed a little bit easier. Roasting, like, you know, vegetables, potatoes, maybe a little easier than the scariness of the thing. So, I mean, a lot of just little baby steps, even if it's just starting with the microwave. Yeah.
One of the small steps we took with Nathan, he was rooming with another boy, and it was their second year, and we were encouraging them to cook, and they had these peer mentors that would come by, and some of the peer mentors were young ladies, and so they liked to eat too, and so they gave them a challenge. They said, why don't you guys make tacos, and we'll come by? And so they had a Taco Tuesday at their apartment. They browned the meat, and they did all this stuff, and the other boy, Nathan, is talkative, as you saw in the video. The other boy is almost stone cold silent. Well, these two girls came by for tacos. They were edible. They looked attractive as they were laid out. They did everything right. And this other boy found his voice somehow and found an opportunity to chat up some girls. And they just had a whiz-bang thing, and every month they had a Taco Tuesday with somebody. So we thought, great, this is good for socialization. It's good for helping them to prepare food and a little confidence building. And they had a good time with, you know, young ladies that came by to enjoy tacos at their place.
I'm ready to go to Wisconsin. Let's do it.
I'm going to change the topic from cooking. So just in terms of my daughter's 17, and she has real strong expectations that she'll graduate from high school and move away because her older sister did and go to university, like not go to a community college, go to like, you know, far away and do her thing and go full time and have a cat, by the way. She's going to get a cat because we all, when we went to college, got animals to take care of. So how to manage that? Like we engaged the school to kind of have a conversation because they're just being guided by her. Like, oh, this is what she wants. Well, let's just explore what options. And I'm like, okay, this is not realistic. Like similar, like she has prescribed times in her life at which she needs to learn things. And so 17 is a prescribed time that she's prepared to accept learning how to do the laundry, but she won't do the dishes and she won't do other things because we're still her parents and we owe her that obligation, apparently. Which is logic, right? So how to like transition to like, it's an insight thing, but I think she probably has some sense of where she's at, and it can't come from us, because if it comes from us, then we're the enemy. And, I don't want her to feel more alienated. I want her to continue to come to us and not be in a position where some sort of guardianship has to be imposed on her because she's not making safe decisions. So that kind of feedback would be great.
I guess I would just go with the village, like if you've got friends or family or people that you know in the community that you can involve, bring in to, help do some of those teaching, because like you said, they don't take it from us all the time, but if, Sally Smith down the street, is really good cook, and maybe spend some time with her and not telling her that, oh, you're gonna go do this, as a lesson, but, involving those people, surrounding them with their community, to learn things from and expose them to different skills. Mm-hmm. 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 So. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I know we have a lot. I gotta go right back here. I'm trying to remember order. It's fun. It's really cool to be in a great group like this. So we'll get it done.
My name is Janine Riley, and my son is Jason Boback, who's been coming here for a lot of years. He wasn't diagnosed until 27, and he's now 46. So for 27 years, he was normal, and he had problems, but we just were told he was normal. So as he has aged, he lived in his own apartment. One of the things to do is to reach out to different services that you might not even be aware of in your city, in your county, in your state. We found that, I tried to write this stuff down because I'm old and I don't remember things anymore. But one of the first things was getting him qualified for SSDI. It really was easier than what I thought it would be because he had already worked, so he got SSDI. He had paid into the system, so it's Social Security Disability. So he got that, and so he got a monthly check, which helped a lot. Then we found out with Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities to receive some services. That took some time to get him evaluated because he didn't quite fit in, which has been his whole life. But we had a really good caseworker come in, and she qualified him for the services. So we got that set up so they can do some things. And so then he was getting some money in, and my husband and I didn't have to pay for everything. His dad and I are divorced for many years, and he's not involved. So getting involved with all these different agencies. So fast forward, he lived in apartments. They're always a mess. Everything's always in disarray, but it's his apartment. I try to go over there sometimes, and sometimes I'm good with it, and other times I just can't do it anymore. So then the rent keeps going up everywhere. He really needed and wanted a dog, somebody, because his social life is so empty, and he wanted a dog. So how can he get a dog in an apartment? Well, you can't in Toledo, Ohio. So then my husband and I talked, and we thought, well, let's try to help him get a house, and we'll help with whatever it takes to get the house for him and get the down payment and all this stuff. Well, lo and behold, services are available through the city of Toledo. They had a $4,000 amount of money that they gave towards either the down payment or the closing costs of the house. But most importantly, when I called the bank and told them my plans, this wonderful lady said, well, you and your husband shouldn't have to sign for all that stuff. Does he have good credit? And I said, well, he doesn't have any credit because I manage all his bills. So when his Social Security check comes in, I pay his bills for him because, said about Sean, he can't manage his money because if he's got money in his pocket, then he's going to spend it. Then he'll tell you later that he spent it. But he's been really good with letting me manage it. Your bills are paid. So the bank, she said, let me run a credit check on him. She did. He's got excellent credit. I was like, I'm willing to dig into any money I've got to get him a house. So, lo and behold, he can get a house. And now we get $1,000 from the city to help with everything. That helps. You've got SSDI, you've got Lucas Board of Developmental Disabilities, which they're sort of involved, but you got to be on top of them about some of his needs. But look into things that you might not even know. Is his house being taken care of as well as I wish it was? No. But it's his responsibility. He got a dog. His Lily. She's his world. So there's things that if you start at a young age, if I'd have known that many years ago of what he had, things could have been even better for him. And it's not all roses, I'm not going to lie.
We all continue to grow. Question?
Actually, I just wanted to, if I could just address what she had asked, because I asked. Yesterday, I attended Dr. Paul's session and asked a very similar question to you in terms of about expectations. He's only 13.
Sorry, she's trying to address.
Yeah. Oh, just kidding. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, I asked a very similar question to Dr. Paul yesterday, and because my 13-year-old has the biggest dreams in the world. He wants to go work for Lego across the sea, and I mean, he'll come to me daily with these ginormous ideas, and I let him speak about them repeatedly, but I know that there's coming a day where I'm going to have to say, this is not possible. And so basically her suggestion is, and it sounds like maybe she has a counselor she's working with at school, is to break it down into steps. And that's kind of slowly what I've tried to do with him is, how do we get to that? And then the wheels start to turn and you go, well, that part's hard. I don't know if I can do that. And then from there, trying to find something maybe along similar lines, but not these grandiose plans that he has created in his mind. Which I feel like for him will be kind of eye-opening and doesn't make me the bad guy. And so it kind of is more of a self-evaluation tool than it is like a dream-crushing tool. So.
Hi, in response to yours, for my daughter, I was in one of those sessions yesterday, and I said she didn't go straight to college. 4 years later, she's very slowly. But she has 3 friends who, they don't have a DC disorder, DCC, they have autism. And there are colleges that have really good academic support services, really good. These kids all graduated a 4-year university on time, had support, had socialization, like they all did everything in a group. It was wonderful. So maybe look into something like that, because I was amazed. I mean, we were with these kids since they were in 2nd grade, so, we grew up with them, and it was just amazing. But my issue with my daughter is motivation. Like, you guys seem to everything sounded very easy. Everything sounded easy, but if I say to my daughter, Alyssa, it's time to wake up on your own, And she'd be like, okay, you know, but it doesn't happen. And maybe I'm a and I don't know. How did you do it?
It wasn't easy, and if I made it sound that way, I apologize, because all of these things that I talked about, it's not like we just decided one day, Sean, you got to wake up, and then the next day you started waking up. You know, I mean, this is over a period of a long period of time, and you know, kind of fits and starts, and then you know, finally. At a certain point, he just decided, you know, he went along with it.
Well, and we said, Sean, what you said about the consequences is, Sean, okay, we are not going to do this anymore, and if you are late for work, you're going to have to deal with those consequences, and, you know, and so, you know, he did it, so.
Yeah.
Oh, down here?
You don't have to worry about Max. He don't get up to about 10.
Yeah, I was just going to say natural consequences like, well, if you miss the bus, you know, how are you going to get there? Just helping them think through those processes of like, okay, so if you miss the bus, how are you going to get to school, or how are you going to, or one time he's like, well, I need this shirt washed. Well, there's the washer right there. You know, I'm not going to drop everything that I'm doing right now just to wash this one shirt for you. So maybe, you know, if you know you need it tomorrow, maybe you should start doing it today. But again, it's not like an overnight thing. It's like several times, like reminding, the coaxing, the prompting. So. Yeah, it's hard to let them fall and fail a little bit, as long as it's not anything life-threatening. But you know, if they miss the bus, then they make sure that that doesn't happen next time, because mom and dad aren't always going to come and save them and get them there. But we are too. Well, we have to get him to. We have to get him to the bus station because there's nothing. But if he's not ready and we have to go to work or someplace else, well, Nathan, maybe you should have thought about that a little bit sooner. So it's hard as a parent because we don't want to let go. We don't want to let them fail. But sometimes natural consequences have to happen as long as it's not going to injure them.
Many of us have been in the position of advising our children of one thing or another and being summarily ignored. And it's natural experience as a parent. And through high school, through middle school and high school, Nathan would go and he says, you know, I'm going to have an easy ride of it. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, I'm special needs, so I'll get out of there and they'll take, you know, I'll get extra help and then they'll give me a job and, you know, my life will be just ducky and it'll be easy. I said, you know, pal, life really isn't like that. And he would just ignore that. And I see people nodding, so I think that's a fairly common experience. And he took a field trip right after he had graduated from high school to what one might term as a sheltered workshop. And the people in there had pretty severe disabilities, for the most part. And they worked doing very simple assemblies. And they worked in a room with no natural light, and they took a couple of breaks a day. And he came home and his face was ashen. And he says, Dad, is that what you were talking about? And yeah. And all of a sudden he got inspired to do something else and to apply himself. But for all the mud that we threw on the wall with his personality, it didn't take. So we empathize with a lot of those experiences. They're very real.
I have two questions. One is for the people who've been around, and maybe you guys can answer it. For the adult program, my son just is 18, just graduated high school, so I'm in that situation with a lot of people, that transition, which is so scary. Does the adult program have conversations about what they can do, what they struggled with, what kind of life looked at, you know, kind of like a peer-to-peer group? With a facilitator, do we have that? So they're talking about these things with each other, so they have maybe peer-to-peer advice? I don't know, do they have that during this conference? That's question one. Oh, they do?
So they're saying, Jade's.
Yeah, go ahead, Jade. Yeah.
So all of their kids started in the adult program when we were leading it, and they were 17 or 18. And they very much, sorry. This is not my, this is not my happy place with this. There's sessions that talk about dating and working and relationships, and of course some are more sherry than others about that, right? Some will talk for the whole session and try to take it over, and some just sit there and never have any input. But yeah, they get that, and I think they take it better peer to peer. Yeah, but right. Right.
But I will say something about that. Yeah. Let me talk for a minute here. They do have that session with Lynn and Warren, but Lynn and Warren talk to them like they're idiots. And that's a problem, okay? And so when Lynn and Warren, they're wonderful, but when you talk about the adults, they don't want to be talked down to, and that's what they feel like Lynn and Warren do. Not so much Warren, but Lynn. And so that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And a lot of the adults that are high functioning, or whatever word you want to use, they don't want to be talked to like that. And so that's why they're skipping out on it. So.
Well, and just one more thing real quick. Like someone said about, lack of motivation, right? I mean, that's the problem with the whole peer-to-peer thing in the adult session, right? Some of them are very motivated to talk to each other. Some are not. And so it...
Yeah. That was my follow. It's not my follow-up question, but if, for example, some people, my son feels he can't. The world looks daunting to him. His daughter, his sister's a high achiever. He sees how hard he sees how hard I work, and he's like, I can't do that. He forgets his chores, and he feels badly about it, but he just forgets them, right? And he knows he has to do this. We always talk about the next step to be independent, and then he feels badly about himself, and so he has a hard time motivating when he does make mistakes. So he's in that in-between as, sometimes he lets it go and other times he feels badly. So the motivation is a big thing. So for my child, right, he's not dreaming big, he's dreaming small. And so I'm trying to say, you can do this, you have the ability. And he's like, you're just mom, you think these things about everyone. So but he doesn't feel he's capable of living on his own. When he fails at the trash, taking a trash out, he's like, see, I can't do it, Mom, I can't do it. So I'm here motivating, and I'm just mom. So what I was thinking was, during these peers, we've got two, it sounds like from the people who talk here, there's probably a lot in between. The people who think high, and maybe some that think like my son low, and we're like, okay, what can we do to find a middle ground? So I was thinking with the adult program, with a more facilitated person who doesn't talk down to them, maybe some of the questions can be asked to a variety of panels of the adults who, for example, your kids, with the other ones sitting there, kind of like a mandatory, where they could talk about some of the struggles, like the facilitator could say, hey, you've lived on your own, what were some of the hardest things? And sort of, like a teacher, guide the questions so they expand on those areas which for example, that were a problem. That kind of thing would, I think, be very helpful. It's just an idea.
Okay, I know, hold on. So we're gonna reset a little bit. I think sometimes, we have 5 minutes, so we're gonna have a few more. One thing that is extremely hard about conference is you come in and on Friday, you hear everyone that sounds like you and understands your problems. I think the second day I find myself trying to figure out how much I feel how different I am. So as I hear these, right? Let's all remind ourselves we are one human. We're helping one human. Yes, we're all loving on all of us, but right now we're all trying to figure out where we are. So everybody take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath out. This is hard, okay? And everybody has a story. And so I appreciate all of it. You've had your hand up really well.
Hi, my son is 12 and dreams of being a soccer star. We're trying to steer him towards something with animals because he loves animals. But I wanted to ask you, you know, when I think of him living alone, he's just not there yet. I mean, the same thing with money. It takes a lot for him to be able to do it. He you know, lacked basic number sense, right? So he's making steps, but if you even, you know, we're still doing analog time, and he's doing well with it, but you know, not like a typical 12-year-old. And I don't know that he's never going to have that math facility, right? So one of the things I think about, you know, I want him to be independent. I don't want him necessarily to live with us, and we don't have extended family. But one of the things I think about, like, you know, I've talked to him, if there's an emergency, if there's a fire, this is what you do. I don't know that I feel he would really know what to do if, like, you know, he was by himself and some emergency happened. You know, the other thing, and I tend to be cynical, I don't know if you worried about this, but when I think about the guardianship, I'm a lawyer. When he's 18, he can contract away anything. My kid's naive. You know, he doesn't have that kind of built-in street sense that we do. So did you guys think about that? Was that a concern or not a concern? Because I kind of worry about, you know, if he's out there even with some independence, someone's like, hey, Owen, you know, here's a great idea, let's do this. And even though he has a good relationship with me, that he would sign something and then that's legally binding. So how did you?
Cool. We're going to answer this. And Kristen, I'm going to let you or Kevin, somebody close this out.
To answer the first question, with your child being 12, just a reminder that with our kiddos with ACC, we get a much longer period of adolescence. So think of it as our adolescent kid is into their 20s, maybe even 30s. So it's a difficulty, but it's also a benefit because we have that extra time. So we can't compare our 15-year-old to a regular 15-year-old because it may take until they're 25, 26 to develop. And I mean, a normal, you know, like a regular male brain takes till 25 to develop. Well, our kids, it's going to take longer. So we get that longer period of adolescence. So we get that extra time. And just repetition, repetition, repetition. Even when they're 25, 26, 30, they need that extra practice. And my son will say that too, because he'll say, I learned this once, but now I gotta just keep repeating it over and over. And then in terms of the guardianship, that's something that you have to really think about and know your own child, and you have until they're 18, so you have to make that decision before they turn 18. But that's really something that you'll have to decide on your own, with your own child, knowing, we just knew that he would rely on us for everything and that he wasn't making poor decisions and that he would always consult with us. So all the way through, I thought, guardianship is not right for him. And then when supported decision-making became a thing, and then our state signed it into law, and I was like, this is the route for him. But it differs in every state, and there's 15 states that have it right now. But it's something that the schools should be talking to you about before they turn 18, just broaching that subject. But I just want to thank you all. I hope that some of what we had was helpful. Find us throughout the conference this weekend if you have any other questions. And just explore your own community and see what services are available now before your kid turns 18. You know, what the various services are, and surround yourself with your community and village.
Just one other thing. if you were at dinner last night, you heard mention about the session this afternoon at 5:30 for people who might be interested in volunteering with the organization in a variety of capacities. And so we're always looking for folks to help us out. We have several lawyers who participate on various committees. I'm a retired lawyer, but we need other expertise as well. So I hope some of you will give some serious thought to attending that session today and see if there's a way that you might be able to contribute to the organization and then help not only your child, but everybody's in the process.
And I just want to say, just from the board and from the conference, make sure as we're speaking here and we're talking about goods and bads of the conference, make sure you use your conference form and fill those out. Those do come back to the board. Email the organization. We take all criticism, all good and bad. This whole session came from Kristen and some things that she started with her and Bruce and what they want to produce. You can see how well Nathan's doing, and I've already approached Bruce. We need to utilize that video. It's awesome, and but utilize that information. Feedback is very, very positive, both negative and so make sure you utilize that. And thank everybody for being here. So.
Also, if anybody wants information on supported decision-making, I brought extra pamphlets